Welcome, friends. Welcome back. We are not in the kitchen today. We are in the Distillery District in Toronto, and we are talking about non-alcoholic beer.
Non-alcoholic beer.
So this is Big Drop Brewing. Please tell me a little bit more about it.
Okay, Big Drop Brewing is the company I started in November 2016.
Okay.
Was when we released our first beer. I, for my sins, used to be a lawyer. For my sins. But my job was largely marketing. So I would go out with clients, and I worked in the City of London, which has, for those who don't know, a very big boozy culture.
A lot of pubs.
A lot of pubs, a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants. Yep. And my job was to be in those pubs and bars and restaurants all day and a lot of the evening. And then I had my first son in 2014. And I just decided for 6 months that I would not drink because tiny little baby.
Yeah.
I want to be a 21st century dad, change nappies, tell bedtime stories, give him a bath. And frankly, you can't do that if you've been in the pub.
Yes.
Drinking innumerable pints of beer. So I stopped, but I love beer. I love craft beer. I love great tasting beer. And I still had to go out with my clients. I couldn't just say, I'm not going to go to the pub for 6 months.
Yep.
That was my job. Terrible job, though that sounds. So I would go in, and as you well know, we've had the craft beer revolution. You've had it in Canada.
So many great tasting beers to have.
So many great tasting beers.
Yeah.
And I'm going into these pubs, and I've said I'm not going to drink any of them. And you can get pale ales and lagers and pilsners and stouts and everything under the sun. And when I say, I'm not drinking, can I have a non-alcoholic beer? After they've stopped laughing,
there's not much choice.
They hand me the mass-produced macro lager, and it was always lager, which some of them are okay, some of them aren't very good at all.
Yeah.
But the point is that I don't particularly enjoy lager as a style. I drink a few lagers in the summer when it's hot, but I drink pale ales and stouts as my favourite style of beer. And I just thought to myself, hang on a minute. You look at these taps, these kegs, these bottles in the fridges, the innovation that's gone on in beer over the last 10, 15, 20 years is outstanding.
A huge amount of change and a lot more focus on the flavor and what it tastes like and market segmentation.
Absolutely.
Making sure that everybody has something that they like.
Exactly. Making sure everyone's got something that they like, the styles are available.
Yeah.
Why, say I to myself, has this not happened in non-alcoholic beer?
Yeah.
So I spent time researching it and looking into it, trying all of the different non-alcoholic beers that I could find, and I still couldn't find a good pale. I couldn't find any pale ales. I couldn't find any stouts. I couldn't find any sort of English ales that were non-alcoholic. And so the short conclusion to that is I decided to do it myself.
And so were you a brewer yourself, or did you home brew?
No, never home brewed. I personally have never brewed a pint of beer in my life.
Concept guy.
So
cool.
Question number one, can it be done?
Yes.
Has it not been done because you can't do it?
As someone who brews at home, I find it very hard to brew a low alcohol beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I wrote some emails to some brewing consultants. There's plenty of people out there that hold themselves out as brewing consultants.
Yep.
And I've saved one email from a guy who wrote back and said, I could do this for you, but I'm not going to because I would feel bad taking your money. This is a terrible idea. So I've saved that email. I haven't written back to him yet, but
that's some advice.
I'll pay you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the advice, but I'll pay you. But no, he didn't want to do it. So eventually, I found, and I didn't have the money to build a brewery. But eventually, I found a company that had set up a great concept, a small 700-litre kit in a railway arch in East End of London. And I went down to them, and of course, I know nothing. I knew nothing about how to even sell beer, let alone make it. Yep. So I wanted to do a very small trial run, some test brews. And they said, you can, you pay them a fee.
Yep.
You get 700 litres, which is about a pallet of beer.
Yep.
Great. I said, but do you know anybody who could develop a recipe for me? And they went, yeah, sure. That guy.
That guy?
That guy. Oh. No, not him.
Okay.
He's not. Other guy's at the brewery now.
Okay.
Crazy, wild-haired, bearded guy who I went and spoke to. And you could tell immediately he went, yeah, no one's done that before, have they?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's give it a go.
Okay.
Off he goes. and he develops the first beer that we released was the stout,
And that's
which is this one here.
this one, a dark noir.
Yes, we will not get into the vagaries of Canadian labelling regulations,
Okay.
because even as a lawyer, I find that tedious. But for reasons...
Canada's special.
Canada is very special.
Canada
I
is
love
special.
it deeply, but not as regards your labelling regulations of
Yes.
non-alcoholic beer.
Yep.
I'm not allowed to call that a stout. Even though it is a stout,
Yes.
we brew it just like normal beer.
Is
There
it-
is no artificial extraction processes that go on to remove alcohol from our
Okay.
beer. It's just brewed to strength.
Okay, so I think that's an important point.
Yeah.
This is brewed at 0.5 or 0.4.
Yes, or 0.4. We'd have to tweak it slightly for Canada.
So it's brewed at 0.4. It's not brewed full strength and then something is removed.
No, and that is a really important distinction between what we do and what a lot of the other, certainly what the big conglomerates are doing.
Because they're brewing a full beer and then
They brew full beer and then you can heat it, which is terrible because it just destroys flavour.
Yep.
You can filter it, so you push the beer through a filter and alcohol remains on one side, but of course you also leave flavours and aromas behind as well.
Yeah.
You can vacuum distill it, which is essentially heating it, but because you heat it in a vacuum, you only need to heat it about room temperature, so it doesn't mess with the flavour as much.
Yeah.
All of these things kind of work okay if you're making a lager, which is that beer that I was drinking when I'd given up drinking when I had my son.
Yeah.
Because, don't get me wrong, a great Pilsner, as we know, is one of the greatest tests of a brewer's skill,
Yep.
without a doubt. But lager, because inherently doesn't have much flavour, it's crisp, it's bitter, it's dry, you can do those processes without damaging it too much.
Too much.
If you want to make a pale ale with hop aromas, if you want to make
You would lose all that.
you lose all that.
All that.
Yeah. So we brew it to strength, never goes above 0.4 in the process.
Okay.
We don't use halted fermentation, which is another process that you can use whereby
That would leave it really sweet though.
leaves it really sweet. You're
Yeah.
effectively drinking the wort.
Yeah.
We don't do that. It's fully brewed the whole process. We use a particular strain of yeast, and that's the thing that nobody ever finds out,
Yep.
which is not very good at converting to sugar into alcohol. So it's not an aggressive
It's
yeast.
not an aggressive. Okay. Yeah.
We use less grain to start with. Less sugar equals less alcohol. And we also add lactose to all of our beers apart from the lager, which we don't have here today, because lactose as an unfermentable sugar is really replacing the alcohol to give the beer's mouthfeel.
It gives you it fills your mouth with that feeling that gives you a smile. It makes you smile.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
that thing that makes you feel like you've got something.
Exactly.
So I don't think a lot of people maybe realize that yeast is a very important part of the process, and most brewers and distillers have proprietary yeast,
Yeah,
and they don't tell anybody what it is, and that is the secret sauce.
that's the secret sauce.
That is
Yeah,
that is really what
Yep.
makes this work. Then.
absolutely.
Okay.
One of the we'll taste the beers in a moment, obviously, but this is a sour. We were asked all the time, can you make an alcohol-free sour? Sour is a very popular beer in the UK. I don't know the extent to which it's gaining traction
very popular
in
here.
Canada.
Yeah. Yep.
So all the time, can you make an alcohol-free sour? The particular yeast or bacteria strain in sour that makes it sour is lactobacillus. You know all of this, obviously. I'm sure most of your viewers do as well. That is a very aggressive yeast. Show it some sugar, it's gone.
It's all over.
Alcohol,
Yeah.
out the back.
Yeah.
Doesn't work for us. So we've really had a number of iterations of our sour, and we've landed at something that we unapologetically quite happily call an entry-level sour. This is not drink it, face like you're sucking a lemon.
And that's another. I guess we'll get to that when we start
Yeah,
tasting them, and we're gonna taste through all of the beers. A lot of breweries, a lot of craft breweries, really want to make beers that like hit you with a baseball bat or a cricket bat. Like they want to knock you out, and those are not entry level beers. Those are not beers that are approachable.
no.
Are you trying to make approachable beers? Where do you think you land in that strata?
What I always say is that our beers should be light iterations of the style. So you should drink our beer and understand that what you're drinking is a pale ale or a stout or whatever.
Yep.
You don't drink our beer and think you're drinking a 7% beer, and I'm never going to try and convince you that you're drinking a 7% beer. But we have had blind tastings where we've put particularly something like the Citra IPA up against other sort of like 3.5% to 4% beers
Okay.
in that category,
Yep.
and just said, right, try these beers. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one. Right, tell me what you think the ABVs are. 3, 4, 3.5, and then you say that's 0.5, and just, whoa.
Yeah.
So it's very much intended that they are reflective of the style that we're trying to do, but they're light versions of that style.
So you are just entering the Canadian market.
Yes.
What other markets are you in? Obviously the UK.
So we're in the UK. We happily have good distribution in the UK, and then the Netherlands, good market for us, and Scandinavians. So we sell in Norway, Sweden, and Finland, and Denmark. Technically the Nordics.
The Nordics.
Very pedantic about that.
Yep.
It's the ex-lawyer in me. We're just about to open up in Australia, and we sell into Hong Kong, Singapore, and South Korea.
Cool.
So we have good
sort of a
distribution.
Global distribution. New Zealand?
New Zealand, I think the opportunity's there,
Okay.
just as much as it is anywhere else. I think we'll use our Australian brewing capability to hopefully use that as a springboard into New Zealand. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd happily go on a business trip to New Zealand.
Where do you see this beer fitting into the grander scheme of beer, bars, pubs? I mean, it's a low alcohol beer, but it's not a non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, this isn't a 0% beer.
Okay.
It's 0.4, 0.5 by virtue of the fact that we brew to strength, but we see that. I personally see it fitting in with the sort of spectrum of craft beers. I always say we make good craft beer, and then I pause, that happens to be non-alcoholic.
Okay.
So I love beer, but I drink Big Drop, but that's okay. It's a craft beer.
Yeah.
So my vision, my overall vision for the brand, for the beer, for the company is that we should be able to go into a bar or a pub together, and you'll order a pint of Guinness, my friend will order a pint of Stella, and I'll order a pint of Big Drop, but nobody blinks.
Yep.
Nobody minds because we're all just drinking a nice pint of beer.
Just having a beer.
Yeah, that's it. And I want it to sit in that.
So you're positioning yourself as a new category of beer in the pub.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think more and more, particularly with the on-trade, what we found in the UK and in Europe is that this category has been led by the off-trade, led by supermarkets. Actually,
Okay. Yep.
The big multis are driving this because they've seen the trend towards people just drinking a bit less alcohol, and they are supporting that. I think it's the on-trade. I can't speak for Canada. It's the on-trade in the UK and in Europe that's being a little bit left behind and still saying, we sell beer and wine. Why do we need to sell anything else? Yeah. And actually, I think you're getting more demand for this now. We are seeing that, and hopefully they'll catch up.
Cool. So come on back for the tastings. We're going to taste through 5 of your offerings.
5 beers.
Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.